Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Vice Rector. Thank you, Mr. Dean. Ladies and gentlemen, representatives of the university as well as representatives of institutions here in Bulgaria. It is a unique honor and also a unique privilege to receive this historic insignia of the University of Sofia. The legacy of this university, as that of Bulgaria's oldest and most reputable university, speaks for itself, having provided your country, and therefore the world for that matter, with scientists, historians, lawyers, doctors, artists, thinkers, leaders, and doers for well over 100 years. As the President of the Republic of Kosovo, I serve my nation. However, I'm also an academic, a lecturer of international law, and therefore receiving the honorary sign of the University of Sofia, St. Kliment Ohridski, brings with it a profound meaning for me. This honorary sign of the University of Sofia, St. Kliment Ohridski, will represent Bulgaria's and Kosovo's friendship, as well as the partnership and the alliance that we share for years. The partnership that we share today, but most importantly, the even stronger partnership that we will share tomorrow. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for this honor. I've also been invited to speak of a very important topic, not just for us academicians, but also for every single citizen of my country, but I would say larger than that, of every single citizen of our region, the Western Balkans, which in turn means a topic that is important for the entire European continent, a strategic compass for Southeast Europe, which we believe will be anchoring peace and prosperity through Euro-Atlantic integration. When I first met the Vice Rector and the Dean in their office, the very first thing I said was that the favorite part of my every official visit is when I visit universities and I get to speak to faculty and to students. This remains a core part of my every international visit, because I believe that the messages that we send as politicians should never remain only within the walls of the political and institutional buildings. They should be spread, most importantly, with the leaders of tomorrow, those who will take over from us to lead our country and therefore to lead the world into better times. I've been teaching myself at the University of Pristina and also as a visiting professor at the University of Pittsburgh for many years. And that experience has not just been me teaching others. Most importantly, it has taught me so much and has certainly shaped my thinking, but also the way that I do politics nowadays. I want to start off with what we believe to be an extremely important part of Kosovo-Bulgaria recent history. Even though, as two countries, we do not share a border, we consider Bulgaria an old neighbor, a close neighbor, and most importantly, a good neighbor. For Kosovo, Bulgaria is a strategic ally, and therefore we are absolutely committed to deepening as well as diversifying our bilateral relations continuously. It has been so for decades, and it will remain so in the decades and centuries to come. Looking back into recent history, two crucial moments in time have laid down the foundation for the strong and long-lasting relations between the Republic of Kosovo and Bulgaria. First has been the role that Bulgaria has played during NATO's intervention, which was launched to stop the ongoing genocide against the people of Kosovo in 1999. During those extremely hard times for the people of Kosovo, the Bulgarian parliament formally ratified an agreement that authorized NATO to use its airspace in response to the hostilities of that Milosevic regime against the people of Kosovo. At that time, what culminated with war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide, had in fact started back in 1989, when the people of Kosovo had to undergo an apartheid-like regime. We were kicked out of our schools, all of our parents were kicked out of their jobs, all of the basic human rights of the people of Kosovo were violated for the simple fact that we belonged to a different ethnicity, for the simple fact that we denied to be oppressed. Our basic right to education, our basic right to work, our basic right to have cultural, civil, and political rights exercised as they were guaranteed were all denied on a daily basis. Which is why my very first message in every single university that I go is this: never take your education for granted. I believe what's going on in Ukraine nowadays is reminding us that in fact, none of the freedoms that we enjoy today, none of the basic, fundamental rights that we enjoy today should be taken for granted. When we had been removed from our schools, Kosovo organized a parallel education system because we believed that to get education meant to also protect our freedom, to never allow those that were pushing forward for tyranny and for war crimes to win our ideal for freedom. And of course, nowadays what we see in Ukraine is reminding us again that no matter how hard it is, no matter the hardships, nothing can ever win over the strong will of a people for freedom. But at the same time, it reminds us of the necessity and the strength and the power of partnerships. Back in 1999, we won because of the resilience of our people, because our liberation struggle, but also because we had friends by our side, because we had democratic countries who came to our rescue. That same message is as relevant today as it was back in 1999. The democratic world needs to stand together as strongly as it did back in 1999 in order to make sure that we protect those same values, the values of democracy and freedom and human rights, with that same resilience that we did in the 90s. The second important part, the second important moment in Kosovo-Bulgaria relations was March 20th, 2008, when Bulgaria became one of the very first countries to recognize Kosovo's independence, about a month after we had declared our independence as an act of the will of the people of Kosovo. These might have not been easy decisions, but history has proven that those were the right ones. History has proven that taking the right decisions in these pivotal moments, taking the right decisions, being on the right side of history, when you have these inflection points of your history, always takes you in the right path. In these crucial historical moments, not just for Kosovo, not just for the Balkans, but far beyond, for the entire European continent, Bulgaria has demonstrated that it stands for freedom and is a strong pillar for our regional as well as Euro-Atlantic umbrella. So once again, on behalf of the people of Kosovo, I want to send that message of gratitude to this country for standing by us during the good times as well as the bad times. Let me talk about the future a little bit. What is important today is that Kosovo and Bulgaria share common goals. It's not just the past that unites us. Above all, we have a shared vision for a peaceful and prosperous region integrated in the Euro-Atlantic structure and aligned with European values and policies. We have been divided most of the times against our will between Western and Eastern empires for centuries, following that we lived through 5 decades of the Iron Curtain and the ideological divide. But now, we are living a rare and perhaps a unique era in the turbulent history of the Balkans, whereby all nations, or at least the overwhelming majority of them, do not bear a dilemma as to where we belong. The vast majority of the countries of the Western Balkans, unfortunately not all, the vast majority know where they belong. We belong in the European Union, and we belong in NATO, alongside Bulgaria. We are European nations, not just by geography and by identity. Kosovo is a European nation precisely because of the values it represents, the values it preserves, and the values it protects, which stand at the very foundation of the European Union. The values of democracy, peace, stability, and the values of human rights and rule of law. Therefore, we look forward towards seeing Bulgaria as an anchor of NATO and EU in our region. Since the declaration of independence of Kosovo, relations between our two countries have entered a new era, and they have constantly progressed and diversified. We have established diplomatic relations at the levels of embassies in Pristina and Sofia. We have a number of investors from Bulgaria investing in our country with the aim of increasing that number. And of course, it is important that these missions bring people together. They create more people-to-people connections, business-to-business connections, but an extremely important part in this history has been the connection between universities, between our students, as well as between the two cultures, because that's what lives throughout centuries and never dies. Bulgarian support for Kosovo, especially in multilateral organizations and platforms, has been constant and important. In every single international organization that Kosovo has a bid for membership, we have enjoyed not just the vote in favor from Bulgaria, but the strong voice of Bulgaria, trying to convince others as well that we deserve to be at the table, and most importantly, we deserve to have a voice. Of particular importance for Kosovo was a historic moment for us when Kosovo's declaration of independence was being looked at by the International Court of Justice, at that time at the initiative of Serbia. Bulgaria's submission of arguments in support of Kosovo's position in front of the International Court of Justice was a decisive moment, because once again Bulgaria lined up with other countries who deeply believed in fundamental human rights and democracy, and the necessity to show to the world that the act of the Declaration of Independence was in line with international law, which was, as you all know, that in 2008, the decision of the International Court of Justice. Therefore, we are profoundly grateful for that act as well. Of course, we need to make sure that business relations thrive. And for that reason, my meetings here in Bulgaria, with the government, with the president, with the institutions, have focused on that aspect as well as cooperation in the area of energy, because we must deepen and diversify our relations. There are too many missed opportunities, some of which we discussed with the Vice Rector and the Dean. We need to have more students from Kosovo come to Bulgaria, but also students from Bulgaria come to Kosovo to learn about one another, to learn from each other's experiences and expertise, and at the same time make sure that we go together from strength to strength and reach new heights. Sofia is about 4 hours drive from Pristina, 4 hours. Therefore, there are a lot of people from Kosovo who want to create more connections, and I'm sure more people from Bulgaria who want to create that connection too. It is the job of us as politicians and academicians to make sure that this happens. When it comes to the regional context in the light of the war in Ukraine, caused by Russia's illegal and unprovoked aggression, I believe that this is one of the most precarious moments for the international security architecture in the post-Cold War era. Putin's imperialist war shows that peace is not for granted, as I mentioned. Freedom is not for free. Such ideas have been shown in our region as well, but we will not stand down. We will not stand down, and we will make sure that democracy prevails. Our region has known horrible wars. But these wars, which we have won against genocidal regimes and against tyrannies, have also made our people absolutely resilient, absolutely resilient in the face of such challenges and difficulties. Therefore, we believe that during these very difficult moments when the entire security architecture of our continent and beyond are under threat, and more importantly, under attack, we must understand what is the geostrategic interest of the European Union and NATO. Having the Western Balkans join these two alliances is not just in the interest of our countries. It will be the anchor for peace and stability for the entire European continent. It has been, for centuries, historically, the interest of Russia to make sure that they introduce and further widen their malign influence in the Western Balkans, unfortunately, by using one of the countries in our region as a proxy. That interest of Russia continues even today, not because they're so interested about Kosovo in particular, but because they believe that by attacking what has been achieved in Kosovo, by all of us together, including your contribution, by attacking the stability in the Western Balkans, they are attacking the values-based systems that the European Union and NATO are. It's in fact an attack against the EU and NATO, because they know very well as we do, that a destabilized Western Balkans means a destabilized Europe. Because the connectivity between our nations is so big that we understand that the lack of stability, 4 hours drive away from Sofia, means a lack of stability here as well as beyond in other countries in the European Union. For that reason, having the Western Balkans, those democratic nations of the Western Balkans, in a merit-based process that believe in rule of law, democracy, and human rights, join the European Union, would finally make the notion of a Europe whole, free, and at peace meaningful. Because a Europe whole, free, and at peace would be impossible if a part of it is destabilized. If a part of it, the Western Balkans, is constantly under threat. If a part of it is left in a vacuum. Because trust me, there is never a vacuum. Someone always comes over to take over the space that is left. For that reason, the Euro-Atlantic nexus is the key. The close cooperation between the European Union and the United States of America to make sure that this space is never left for these malign actors is the key for the future peace and the long-lasting peace and stability in our region and in turn beyond our region. For that reason, we believe that the enlargement of the European Union and the enlargement of NATO with the Western Balkan countries that are pro-values is indispensable for fostering peace and for ensuring prosperity of the region. And this is becoming even more important in the face of the Russian aggression against Ukraine. Western Balkans are still a fragile part of Europe, precisely because from time to time, Russia, through its proxies, saw that they have space to influence. Kosovo, in turn, has been a country that has absolutely left no influence from these malign powers. However, precisely because of that, Kosovo has constantly been under threat from these malign actors. At the same time, I believe that the European Union membership process should be a merit-based process. As Kosovo, we never look for a shortcut. We want to be seen and valued, not just for what we say, but most importantly, for what we do. And this is what we have been doing. In this past 1 year and a half, Kosovo has introduced, undertaken, and exercised rapid and extremely important rule of law reforms, which in turn have helped our economy, which in turn have helped the credibility of our country and the trust that the people have in our institutions. Kosovo is going higher and higher in all international indices for democracy, human rights, and rule of law. And most importantly, we don't do this for the image, we do it for the people. Because we can see it firsthand, how when you have rule of law and economic development and equality among free nations, it changes the lives of our citizens for the better. While Kosovo has been doing that, there's unfortunately a neighbor of ours that has failed that test, not just when it comes to protecting the values that the European Union stands for, but at the same time, not joining the rest of us in the sanctions against Russia, and that is Serbia. I wouldn't have mentioned Serbia here if it wasn't for the daily threats that this country poses against the stability and peace in the entire region, and not just against Kosovo, but also against other countries in the region. But I'm here to say, once again, that the sooner Serbia understands that Kosovo's independence is an irreversible reality, a reality that will stay there forever and ever, the better for Serbia, the better for our bilateral relations, and the better for the rest of the region, and for long-lasting peace and prosperity, which is what current and future generations of the Western Balkans deserve. However, we will continue to extend our hand of cooperation based on the principles of good neighborly relations, because we believe that our people deserve long-lasting peace. Our people deserve a much better chance of peace and prosperity, and of course, they deserve to be in the European Union as well as in NATO. Kosovo, in turn, has joined Bulgaria and other European nations in sanctions against Russia, and also in welcoming Ukrainian refugees. Especially, we're supporting Ukrainian journalists because we understand at times of war how important it is for journalists to be able to tell the truth. Back in 1999, the world saw what was happening in Kosovo precisely because of those brave journalists who were telling the truth about the war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide that was being committed against the people of Kosovo. Today, the message is clear. As long as we stand united, as long as we stand in the right side of history, as long as we understand that our strongest power lies in our partnership, democracy and freedom will prevail again. Thank you very much for your attention. Honored ladies and gentlemen, once again, as I said at the beginning, it is extremely important for all of us to have a chance to speak to universities and students, because universities are not only temples of knowledge, but they also serve as catalysts of multifaceted communication between people from near and far. It is said that language is the shelter of being. Therefore, we are who we are because we communicate, we speak, and we exchange ideas amongst ourselves and with others using language. Language is a core component of a nation. Keeping language alive and preserving it is a must. Knowledge lives here in your university, and it is where the Balkan and Indo-European Languages Department continues to serve new generations of scholars
because Albanian is our national language, and all of you studying Albanian are studying a language among the oldest Indo-European languages. The oldest. Albanian, this unique branch of Indo-European languages, primarily spoken in Kosovo, Albania, the Republic of North Macedonia, in Montenegro, in the Preševa Valley, as well as a lot of Albanians living around the world in all continents. For us, the Albanian language is central to our national and cultural identity. In fact, it is at our very essence. And the fact that as one of the oldest Indo-European languages, Albanian continues to be spoken, cultivated, and developed beyond the countries where it is the mother tongue, it's truly remarkable and precious. It is such a unique feeling to know that the academic tradition of studying the Albanian language is kept alive here at St. Kliment Ohridski University. This reminds us that the friendship between Kosovo and Bulgaria is not just a political matter. It's not only due to Bulgaria's support for Kosovo during its darkest hours, but also because of the significance of the academic and cultural endeavor. It is because of this that I have decided to award the Balkan Studies Department a presidential certificate of gratitude and honor for the study, cultivation, and development of the Albanian language. Thank you for keeping the Albanian language alive and for being such a crucial academic and cultural link between Kosovo and Bulgaria. Faleminderit shumë.
Уважаема госпожо президент, Ваше превъзходителство, уважаеми колеги, преподаватели и студенти, дълбоко сме трогнати и развълнувани от тази награда, от тази висока чест, която получаваме лично от президента на Косово, неговото превъзходителство, госпожа Вилса Османи Сагарио, но и от колега учен, което я прави още по-ценна за нас. За нас това е наистина едно признание и аз искам да благодаря от името на всички колеги, както и да благодаря на тях за техния труд и на студентите за техния ентусиазъм. В историята балканизъм е термин свързан с разделение, с напрежение, с раздробяване. В лингвистиката обаче терминът балканизъм показва дълбокото взаимодействие между балканските езици, което е проникнало в граматичната им структура. Това не е нещо толкова често срещано в езиците по света. Така че аз се надявам с общи усилия ние да допренесем Балканите да се превърнат в символ на единство